Hey YouTube, and welcome back to the IoT Developer Masterclass. Now, here's the simple truth. Building an AI-powered IoT system should not require a PhD. All it requires is some drive and some willingness to learn and experiment. In this video, we'll be learning about the basics of how AI systems work and how to integrate them into your own IoT projects. Imagine the possibilities of taking an AI agent to get, analyze, maybe even optimize the state of a machinery on the shop floor. Or as a device manufacturer, being able to talk to your AI system to analyze errors associated with specific devices you sold in a specific geographic region. Again, imagine as a device user, maybe someone like me who's invested in some expensive equipment. It's frustrating to read through endless non-user friendly manuals when something goes wrong. I don't even want to think about it, but imagine that instead I ask an AI agent to tell me exactly what's wrong, how to fix it, guide me through the installation process, or even better, automatically resolve the problem for me. Now that would be cool. The possibilities are endless. In one of our previous videos, we saw how you can integrate machine learning models into your own IoT systems, what we call the machine learning of things, MLOT systems. Today, we will take a step further by creating agentic IoT systems.
Through this three-part series, we would learn how to bring these agentic AI systems to life. So, what are AI agents? Now, generally, the way I like to think about it is that AI agents are autonomous systems that can perceive, reason, decide, and act to achieve goals. Now, the actual part there, act, is very important, especially as we go further and talk about what we call react agents, agents that are not only able to reason, but also able to act. And in the IoT world, we are talking about now acting on what is within our normal environment, right? So what are the key characteristics? AI agents generally, they should be designed to be, they are designed to be autonomous. They make decisions without human input. You would have to specify, instructions on how it should reason, just like how you make, a chat GPT query, right? They're goal oriented, right? So they work towards achieving special goals or objectives, right? So basically, you can set an AI agent to be a researcher or another agent to be maybe an HR agent, right? Depending on what you build in, they could have different personalities and work towards taking on the presence of that personality, right? They're tool using, right? Generally not all AI agents are tool using, right? You could have LLM based agents that they only work within the scope of that LLM. They're very basic agents. They don't act on anything outside because you need tools to be able to act on things outside your environment. And they're adaptive, right? So they can adjust based off of feedback. So if an action were to be taken and it's not, something and it got a feedback and get it back into the agent can decide maybe to take a different approach and try something else, depending on the tools that it has. So basically, they think, right? Act, they observe, and then they repeat, right? So it's more like a loop. It continues until it achieves its goal before presenting its final output. So what would we be building, right? So for our first project, we're going to be building what we call an LLM agent, right? And that's just a basic agent. It's when you say an LLM agent, when I say an LLM agent, I just mean an agent that doesn't have any tools. It just works within the, scope. So it reasons and generates tasks based on the scope of that LLM, right? Doesn't rely on interacting or reacting to anything in the real world, right? Then with project 2, we'll be building an HR LLM agent. And what this means is, it's still going to be within the scope of the LLM, right? So it reasons and generates tests based on the actual agent, the LLM agent, but it doesn't act with the real world. And what we're doing here is based on a user's input or email, rather, we'll have a classification agent that classifies if that email is meant for billing, or if it's meant for tech support, or if it's meant for general HR, and then send the email to those agents that have those personalities, right? So because now an agent, you make it better by giving it a personality and making it focused on that one task rather than having a general agent, right? So once it sends it to the agent with those personalities, those agents can then respond based off of, what they know about that field, right? And that brings us to part 3, where, we'll have the same agent, we'll modify it so that it can react with something in the real world. And in this case, we would have a database where it stores the data, right, of the email that came in. So the next time you can ask, what happened with the, what's going on with my request, right? It gives you maybe a ticket number and you ask what's going on, and it checks the database and says, oh, okay, I see maybe there's an update on this, so let me give you an update. Or maybe there are no updates, right? And then I say, okay, there are no updates on this, right? And so the reason behind that is, let's say you have a general database and the AI routes it to that database and sends also maybe an email to someone, right? The person who's supposed to act on it. Once that person updates again, it will be stored in the database. And when the person who originally had the issue comes back to ask a question, the agent can then reference that database and see what the progress of that request is, right? And be able to give feedback based off of that. Then after we create our HR agents, we're then going to move into creating what we call the IoT agents, right? And in this case, it's going to be a very basic IoT agent where we have an IoT server. And that server, you can maybe get data about different types of devices. You can set different types of devices, and we'll have our agent be able to, do these tasks, right? So maybe you ask it, get me the status of device 1, and it would query the MQTT server and look for the status of device 1. The reason why we're doing this is because in part 2 of this video, we're going to be able to tie it into a circuit. So once we are able to get this working with MQTT, then it would generally be easy for us to just integrate that into our actual circuit. So first of all, we are going to go to Docker Hub. So you can go to hub.docker.com/u/uf Okechukwu, right? And you want to look for this one, UF Okechukwu IGNode AI Agent Builder. And so you'll open that, and this is the link to it. I will put it in the description of the video. And basically it says what the IGNode AI Agent Builder is, right? It's a low code. I'm sorry about that. I will fix that after this video. So basically, how do we start? This is, a simple way of doing it. You just need these two, right? You do a Docker pull to pull it. Now let me open my Visual Studio Code and use the terminal from there. In 1 second. I should already have it. I'm going to open terminal. I'm gonna paste that here. Basically, I should already have it in my system, so it's there. And now I can go ahead and run it, right? So basically, I can copy the second line of code, copy that, and now you put it in here, and now you run that. And basically, if everything goes well, right? So just make sure you have Docker installed, and we've done that in our previous video. And basically once that's done, you should see the application up there, right? So here we have IGNode up here, right? You have Okechukwu IGNode AI Agent, and it's running. And you just want to open port 7780, this one. So once you click on it, it should open, and that is IGNode. This is the manager, and we'll get to the canvas for the workflow builder as we work, right? So basically you can create a new workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My first agent. That's easy, right? You create it. It's going to ask you, like, create and open, right? Open it in a new tab. And that's all, right? It preloads everything for you with a default agent, right? So basically you have a start. This is where everything starts from. You have a researcher agent, and if you open the description here, it's labeled as a researcher. You can change that if you wanted. Maybe I can say maybe researcher 1. That should be edited here, right? And it says the identity, you are a research assistant that helps users find and analyze information. That's very basic, right? The input source, the output target. So this we will talk about later, right? This is about the input data that goes into the agent processes the data, and where the agent output it, right? And this helps, like, if you want your agent to be able to remember conversations that you asked, right? And that's why it's set this way by default. And then the instructions about the agent. Here it says help the user with their research questions, right? By default, we have OpenAI as the provider. There are other providers. So right now, OpenAI is set by default, and you can take any of the GPT models, right? Set the temperature or whatever you need, right? You can also set knowledge bases, agent tools, MCP. We don't need any of that. We'll just go with the default settings for now, right? And if you want to set up, maybe enable other providers, right? Let's say you're using Gemini, you can go to the settings menu and go to LLM providers, and you could just enable that. But for now, we're going to disable that, and we're just going to use OpenAI, right? And there is nothing else. That's the agent. Let's test this out. Let's go ahead and open it in Jupyter Lab. So we'll go and we'll click open in Jupyter Lab, right? We'll save and open it in Jupyter Lab. It's an IPYNB file, right? So we'll open it in Jupyter Lab, and basically the code is there. The code has been generated, everything is set, and all you have to do is just run the code, right? And so let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna run, we're gonna install the requirements. So it take a few seconds to install LangGraph, LangChain, and the other libraries that are needed, right? So it's just wait a while for that to complete. And I think that should be it, right? So now we'll just run the next thing, right? So we'll go here, run that, get the imports done. And now we have to set the sources, right? So you can see here, because we set it up as OpenAI, right? It's set up OpenAI for us as our LLM provider, but we need an OpenAI key for this agent to work, right? So we're going to go create an OpenAI key. So if you have an OpenAI key already, you can use that. Otherwise, you have to go to platform.openai.com. I can go to API keys, right? And I already have an existing key, but I'm going to create a new key for this video, right? So I'm just going to create a new key, and I will call it IoT Masterclass Key. And it'll just be the default, and I'll create the key. Again, I will be deleting this key after this video, so please don't use my key. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back here sorry, I'm gonna go back here, and then I'm going to now paste that in here, right? So that you can use that key. And I'm going to run this. And that should run fine. And now we're going to run the code. That should run without any errors. Good. And now we're going to draw the graph, right? So basically this is the graph. We have start. We have the node researcher that we created. And we have an end, right? And so we're going to now run the agent. And here is the agent. Error invoking. It cannot find my key. Incorrect API key provided. Not sure why that is, but let's go back here and let's just paste the key directly. So I'm gonna do that. So please do not use my key. So I'm gonna run that, run that, run that, run that again, draw the chart, and now starting the agent, and now the agent works, right? So it says executing workflow, hello, how are you? You know, and then it has the agent right there, right? So basically what happened, we said run workflow, hello, how are you? And the agent replied, you can see here, this is the input, hello, how are you? And this is the agent's message, you know, hello, I'm here ready to help you. How may I be of assistance today, right? And we can say, what is the capital of Nigeria? And let's try that again. We're gonna run this again. And you can see here it says, what is the capital of Nigeria? That's the question. And the agent's answer, the capital of Nigeria is Abuja, right? So this is good. You can see that now we have a simple agent that works. One of the things we can do also is we can close this, right? Okay. We'll go back to the start and we'll enable a continuous loop for conversations, right? So that we can ask it questions and not have to go over and over again. And once we do that, we can save that, update our database, and then let's load that on JupyterLab. So with that enabled, fortunately, so we should already have all the requirements met from before. We'll just run everything. Unfortunately, I have to paste my key again in here. So I'm going to do that a second time. Right, so let's get that key again. Copy that. I'm going to paste that in here. Right, and then I'm going to run that. And now when we run it, it says, hi, I'm a helpful AI assistant. How may I be of help? And I can now say, hi, my name is Francis. And let's see what it replies. It says, hello, Francis. How can I assist you? How can I assist you with your research today? And I could ask, what is the capital of India, right? And here it says that the capital of India is New Delhi, right? And maybe I could tell it something. I could say, I love soccer. And I like to eat rice. Now you can see I told it a few things about myself, right? As I click using the agent, and it tells me, oh, you know, and it gave me some things about soccer and rice. But let's say I ask it, you know, I told it my name previously, and I asked the agent, what is my name? And you see that the agent wouldn't know my name because it's just, basically the way we have this working right now, it doesn't have the context, right? We need to pass the conversations all back to the agent each time, the previous conversation, so that when the agent has the full context of what it needs to do, right? And so how do we solve this? We're going to exit out of this. Make sure you exit. Now we are out of there. We're now going to leave, and we'll go back here, go back to our start, and we'll say enable history, and we'll save that. And now let's load that on Jupyter Lab. Now opening Jupyter Lab again, unfortunately, I have to paste my key all over again, right? So I have to do that. Let me get my key, put that in here, and now I'm going to run that again. Hopefully no issues. This is the graph, and now the agent is running, and I can say, hi, I am Francis. And it replies, and it's asking how it can help me. I can say, I like to play soccer, and I love to eat rice. And let's see what it does. It also gave me some more information. That's great to hear. Soccer and rice are fantastic. You know, soccer is a fantastic sport. Rice is a versatile, delicious staple food, right? I would also say maybe I also love vegetables. And so the agent is able to reply, and I can maybe ask something off, right? I could say, what is the capital of the United States? And hopefully the agent answers, right? It says it's Washington, D.C., so you could see that here. And now let me ask it something, right? I could say, I live in New York. And now it has a lot of context about me, right? And let's see if it remembers any of this based off of what we triggered. Now let's say, tell me about myself. And now it's executing a researcher, and it says, it seems like you've shared a few things about yourself already. So it says you enjoy playing soccer, you love eating vegetables, rice and vegetables, right? And you live in New York. So basically it remembered the conversation. So basically previously when we tried that, you see, it didn't know anything. But now because we constantly passing back the conversation, right, the context back to it, now it can make inferences based off of that. So that is enough for this part of the agent, and you could see how easily we created an agent, a basic agent. So this is our first created agent. That's the, and now we would go to creating an HR agent. Again, please, just to remind you, please like, subscribe, share this video, and let's get to the second project.